More powerful than a locomotive, this is What's Your Favorite Movie, the movie podcast celebrating film fandom, our favorite movies, and why we love them. My name is Ed Sal. Thank you so much for joining us, for taking the time to seek us out, download us. Whatever it is you do to hear this show, we are glad you did it. We're going to talk about some super movies today, and we'd love to have you join the conversation. You can find us on Twitter at WYF Movie Podcast. We've got a Facebook page, and you can even email us at favemoviepodcast.com. Let us know what you think about the show or any of the movies we discuss in this or any episode. We are all ears. So a couple of shows ago, I put out a little call if anyone was interested in being a guest. Hit me up. And one person did. Thank you very much, everybody. But we're going to definitely say thank you to Todd, who's joining us today. Todd sent me an email, and we've been going back and forth for a couple of months, I guess.
Yeah.
And today's the day the magic happens. Todd, thanks for joining us on What's Your Favorite Movie?
No problem, man. Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan.
Oh, that's very nice of you. You and I bet those conventions are really packed, the What's Your Favorite Movie fan conventions.
I like to get the VIP pass. So.
I appreciate it. So Todd is by profession, a water treatment specialist.
Yep.
Can you sum that up in one or two sentences? What does that do?
Sure.
What do you do?
My best. I treat the water that goes into boilers and cooling towers for commercial buildings to make sure it's not acidic or corrosive.
Well, we all appreciate your hard work and us not drinking acidic water.
Thank you.
But we're not here to talk about water treatment. We're going to talk about movies. And you would say movies is one of your top 3 favorite things in life?
Yep. Yeah.
Movies, comic books,
comics, and then family.
Family.
Maybe not in
that order,
but
depends.
Somewhere in there.
Depends on who's listening.
Yeah.
The answer to that. So, and then before we started rolling, you were telling me about a bad movie night you guys used to do.
Yeah, when I was in high school, me and some friends, once a week, every Friday without fail, we would find whatever horrible movie we could find and watch it. It became a tradition, and we have it every once in a while now, but now with older families, all that kind of stuff.
Nothing happens every Friday when you get into your 30s.
I think the last one we watched was Thunder in Paradise, the Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yes. Nice.
Movies. Someone got them, all 3 movies on DVD for
nice.
me, so... Yeah, I think that was the last one.
They were shot in Walt Disney World on the at the Grand Floridian Hotel. Was is there like a resort involved in that or something?
The first movie was about saving a resort.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Somehow their high tech boat saved a resort.
Excellent, and we all thank Hulk Hogan for that. So, in addition to family and movies, you're also a big fan of comic books.
Yep.
And Todd even runs. Are we calling it a business or a large scale hobby? Or
sure, either one.
Comic Panels is the name of Todd's business, and you make these large scale. They're beautiful, like art pieces. Where you tell us what you do.
Yeah, I was looking to get into a hobby, and at my work, I can come across a lot of pallets, and that's kind of free wood to use, so I chop up the pallets and I spray paint them, polyurethane them, and then I kind of cut up comics and make a collage or some kind of nice looking mural.
Yeah, they're awesome looking.
I put some hooks in it and you can hang it.
Right, so. And it's not just like you're just cutting out comic books and gluing them up. Like they have like a theme. Like you'll do like I saw like you had one. It was all Wonder Woman.
Correct. Yeah, I try to highlight a character or a team or some form of theme I can get some people into. So.
And what famous people have bought your pieces so far? Is that
famous people? Some famous people to me.
Yeah.
About famous people in general.
So
some friends have been nice enough to buy my stuff.
They're really and then people can call you and like if somebody's into something a little more obscure beyond Wonder Woman or Superman, if they wanted
sure.
I don't know, Doctor Doom or
yeah, if they wanted a custom, they just let me know and I'll track down the comics and. I have a lot of comics that I've come into that people have just passed off to me.
Yeah.
So, that I can pull from. So typically I can find whatever they need.
And I like what you were telling me about actually cutting up the actual comic books as opposed to like photocopying them. Because some people might think like, oh, you're destroying these comic books. But in actuality,
yeah, I kind of think of it, that I'm preserving the art of it. I mean, it's a big thing. And there's a big push nowadays in comics where people just print out stuff and sell it, and I kind of find that to be a little disrespectful to the artists, kind of stealing from them. So I like the idea, if I can't find what someone wants, I've had a couple custom orders that I couldn't find it, it wasn't in my collection, so I went out and bought it, just to make sure that I'm preserving
That's awesome.
The correctness that I like to
Yeah, that's really cool. So you guys should definitely check it out if you're interested. These would make awesome Christmas gifts for people. Like certainly not something anyone's going to already have.
Yeah.
So that's great. So you can check them out on Etsy. You have an Etsy store, Comic Panels by Todd.
Yeah, if you just search Comic Panels or Comic Panels by Todd, my page will come up.
And you said it's a work in progress, the Etsy store?
It's a work in progress. I had a whole bunch of panels up for sale. I took them down when I started my Hurricane Harvey relief.
Okay.
Because I didn't want them to sell on Etsy and someone emailed me personally and wanted to buy them. I didn't want to have that kind of conflict.
Sure, yeah.
So I think probably in the next week or two, most of them will go back up.
All right, cool. So Etsy and then also Facebook, you can find you at Comic Panels for Life or just search Comic Panels.
You can search Comic Panels or it's like the facebook.com/Comic Panels.
Yeah.
The number 4 life.
Yeah, I have no idea how searching for things on Facebook works when you post a page. So if anyone's found what's your favorite movie page, let me know how you find it.
Yeah, that's how I found it. It just popped up and I liked it. I don't think I could search for it if I
right. So check out Comic Panels, and then if mention when you contact Todd that you heard him on What's Your Favorite Movie, cut you a little deal, maybe $5 off an order or something like that. Yeah.
Just mention either Ed South or What's Your Favorite Movie.
Yeah, there you go. Promo code Ed South.
Yeah.
And we'll post some photos and links on Twitter and Facebook so everybody can see all your artwork, and it'll be pretty cool.
Well, thanks.
So obviously, like I said, you're into comics, and comic book movies are huge right now. They're pretty much the dominant force of Hollywood's box office at the moment.
They're the blockbusters now, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking, movie fans aren't necessarily comic book fans, but if you're into comics, you've probably got a deep love for at least like one film franchise. You're probably a film buff.
I think so. I think they go hand in hand. I have not met a comic book fan that's not a movie fan.
There you go. Okay. So what were like we always ask people about their earliest memories of movies, but what were some of your earliest exposure to comic books?
To comic books it was my parents. It started as just like, I think parents look at comics to see like, oh, I see this Superman comic, I'm going to bring it home for my kid. And I think that's really what sparked it, but it wasn't until I was an early teenager that I took it over as my own, that I was going to the comic book store once a month to get those books and continue the stories. So that's really where it kind of took off. But my parents were to blame.
Is your dad or mom into comics? Did they read? They read? So It was just...
I think maybe when my dad was a kid, he had some comics, but it was not a part of his life at all.
I read a lot of comics when I was little, but you'll probably be surprised to find I didn't read a whole lot of superhero comics. I read a lot of Disney, which are great. Like the Disney comics hold up almost, on the same par as Marvel and DC, the Uncle Scrooge comics and whatnot. But I also read a lot of like just these weird like Bugs Bunny or Muppets or Popples or whatever odd thing was out at the time. So to me, comic book, I never really got into the superhero aspect of it until this new wave of movies came through.
Right.
But superheroes to me are more, what I think of is the older stuff that was all there was at the time in media. I mean, if you were reading comics, I'm sure the Batman comics were dark in the 70s.
Yeah.
But on TV, it was Super Friends.
Right. Or the Adam West,
the 66 show, exactly. Which I actually wrote that down. Like everybody dumps on Batman and Robin, but to me, that's the closest to the Batman that I know. Of course, now here we are at 2017. I've grown accustomed to Batman being a darker thing, but when I saw Batman and Robin, I was like, they finally got it right, and everybody else is like, you're insane, Ed.
Yeah, it wasn't until the 80s, I think, when Frank Miller did The Dark Knight Returns as a pretty famous Batman story.
Right.
It was the first time things got super, super dark and gritty, and then everyone kind of was like, that's my Batman, that's what I want.
So you have, we're going to get to some of your favorite movies here, and you had Superman on the list, but that's the only comic book movie you have on your list. So what would you say are some of your other favorite comic book movies, past and present?
Well, definitely, like you said, Superman. I'm a big fan of the 1989 Batman movie. I thought it was really great. I've been enjoying the Captain America movies. Captain America is a favorite comic book character of mine. I like some of the underground movies, like Blade.
There you go. Yeah. Wesley Snipes.
The first X-Men movie I thought was really good. X-Men and X-Men 2, and then it kind of all fell apart.
Yeah.
A little bit after that.
I've only seen the first one. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I thought the first one and the second one were very good.
What are they on now? They're on like 8 X-Men movies.
I can't even count anymore. They're somewhere in there. And now TV shows.
Yeah, lots of TV shows. Have you ever seen the 1977 Spider-Man TV movie?
I've seen a little bit of it.
Oh, that was my jam.
Yeah. You'd have to really track that down.
Yeah.
And find it,
I mean, I remember watching it on TV, probably not in 77, but somewhere in the early 80s. It starred Friedrich from Sound of Music is in it, and he's in like a leotard shooting, and he would hold out his hand to shoot the net, and then it would cut, and somebody would just throw a net over somebody, or webbing, I should say. But
maybe that'll be next bad movie night if I can get my hands on it.
Yeah, if you can get your hands on it. I don't think it's out on DVD.
No,
I have the
find it someplace.
The old Captain Americas are out on DVD, like the 70.
I've seen the 70s one and then the 90s one.
They're bad.
They're
really
bad.
Yes. I wrote down some of my favorite comic book movies. Thor, Avengers, Iron Man 2, uninspired choices. What's it with 2s, though? Iron Man 2 is really good. Spider-Man 2 is really good. Superman 2 is really good.
That's true.
All the 2s.
I was not a fan of Iron Man 2.
No?
Or I feel like most of the Marvel 2s have not been that
okay.
Great. Like Thor 2.
Thor 2 was not as good as Thor 1, yeah.
Yeah, and actually that's not true. Captain America 2 was probably my favorite.
The Winter Soldier.
Captain America
was awesome
because it was like a more spy espionage movie than it was like a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So James Bondy, switch it up a little bit.
Winter Soldier is the bomb. So we got to your list of movies, and your number one movie we'll get to in a minute, but we thought we'd flow with some Superman.
Sure.
So you had said Superman 1 and 2, both together, 78 and 80.
Yeah.
I did not realize, and you had mentioned that they were filmed together. I never knew that. I thought like Back to the Future was the first to do that, but they filmed them simultaneously.
They filmed a lot, and I think halfway through the process, and I could be wrong, I'm not a historian on the subject, but Richard Donner, who was the original director of it, just had an idea for the 2 movies he wanted to make because he had a grand vision. And then he was actually fired after Superman 1.
Right.
So Superman 2...
Well, I read he shot like about 75 to 80% of Superman 2.
Yeah,
and then they let him go.
They let him go, and some other guy came in and finished it, and it wasn't until...
Richard Lester.
Yeah, it wasn't until the mid-2000s that they actually let Richard Donner go back and recut some of the footage that he had filmed and actually make his version.
Yeah.
So there's a second kind of Superman 2 movie out there called the Richard Donner cut, which is what he envisioned.
And what do you think? Have you seen both of them?
I have seen both of them. I own both of them. I really like Richard Donner's cut because it takes out what most people dislike about Superman 2, which is some of the hokiness. Like the cellophane S throwing and like that kind of hokiness in the Fortress of Solitude. But, I first saw that movie when I was a kid. And that stuff was amazing to me. So I don't have such a bad thought of it like most people do.
I always tell people any of the Superman movies came on when we were kids. Everything stopped.
Yep.
You watched it from there out, no matter if it was on HBO in the middle of the afternoon or on ABC at night. You watched the rest of it. And I wasn't even a big Superman fan, but they were.
Well, you don't even have to be a kid. That's me nowadays. I'll stop it, even though I own it. If it comes on, I'll be like, I'm going to watch this.
So you would say Christopher Reeve is your Superman?
Absolutely.
Nobody's replaced him
yet? I liked Brandon Routh from the 2006 Superman Returns. I thought he was
looked, well, they were trying to continue with the...
Yeah.
So 2006 was Superman Returns? Superman Lives? Superman Comes Back? Superman Returns, 2006, and they were kind of...
Superman comes back after a life.
Right.
Or Superman Spies is what the movie should be called. Most of it is him spying on people and secretly looking in on Lois. It got a little weird. Superman Stalker.
I haven't... I saw it when it came out, and that's that's the only time I've seen it. I remember the beginning being a little drawn out, but then once it got its groove on, it was flowing. So you would say Superman is, I think, the gold standard of superhero movies. Definitely by everybody until maybe Batman Begins or the Marvel movies started.
Batman Begins took a more realistic approach to superheroes, which is, I think some people love that. I'm kind of up in the air about it.
Right.
I don't think comic book movies need to be set in the real world. You mean, I don't read a comic and go, man, I wish this was in the real world or whatever. But and then Marvel did something that's very unheard of, and it worked out very successful for them, of just having this broad vision of all these movies tying together, and we're going to have the Avengers, which is a huge ensemble cast, kind of have never been done before. So they took
right.
a huge gamble, and it really, billions of dollars later,
yeah.
it really paid off for them.
I remember leading up to Avengers and just thinking, like, there's no way this is going to be good. There's too much going on in this movie for it to be any good. And then not only was it good, I thought it was great. I loved it. It really got me on board for all the Marvel films. And I went back and watched the ones I hadn't seen yet, and I've seen every one since.
Yeah, I think even if you're like a professional movie person who can pick out weird things in a movie that you're like, oh, that's not good or whatever, I think for most Marvel movies at this point, for me, I can escape myself for 2 hours and like just be like, you know what? I may not like some of what I'm seeing, but I'm still watching Doctor Strange on screen, or I'm like, that's, as a comic book fan, that's still cool to me.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think Superman 2 are still kind of the gold standard of. I'm saying gold standard again because I wrote it in my notes, but they're like what everybody looks up to as far as the perfect superhero film. It's got a balance of authenticness, but also lightheartedness. Is that a good?
Yeah, for me they are. I mean, I think they encompassed the character of Superman the best. You know, I don't think Man of Steel really captured Superman at all.
Yeah.
I think it was a very impressive alien invasion movie, but impressive Superman movie.
Right. He's got too much. I don't want to say baggage, but Superman is part of our culture. Like that's a character you can't fiddle with too much. It doesn't. He's not open to a lot of interpretation. I guess some, but
and the Kansas upbringing is so important. Like, and then for that movie, they kind of went with more like Jor-El, Alien Planet.
Right.
So much time on this, and then we kind of made Kevin Costner like a weird dad figure where he was like, hide who you are, don't save people, let them die. Like, it just was weird.
Seems like they're always taking, like, they'll just try to be different, like that, for example. Or Spider-Man, like they've kind of changed his backstory a little bit for the second go around of the movies now
we're on the third go.
Right. Yeah. But I think they corrected that course. Did you see Homecoming?
I did see Homecoming. I thought it was very impressive, but there was like barely any mention of Uncle Ben. And no mention of like, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, those are like so important to Spider-Man.
Those are like the trademarks of the film. Like, you have to mention that line.
You don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but you got to mention it.
I'm just glad we didn't get the origin story again, because I've had the origin story of Spider-Man enough.
I actually would have preferred him outside of college in the real world, because Spider-Man. He's already been a kid before. Wouldn't it be cool if he was like out in the world? He has been Spider-Man for a long time at this point, but he's flown under the radar.
Right. So I wrote down all the Superman's appearances on the big screen. Started in 1941 with 17 cartoons that they made. Have you ever seen those? Those are awesome.
I have them, I believe.
Yeah. And then they did 2 serial. When I say cartoons, they were like little shorts, like Looney Tunes, but they weren't silly. They were very realistically animated and told a good story.
Yeah, he didn't fly in those.
That's right. Yeah. So the flying was added when the TV show came around, right? Is that the story?
Maybe. I know somewhere in the TV show and the comics they lined up, but originally in comics for a long time he didn't fly, just jumped.
There's 2 Superman serials, like old-fashioned serials. If you kids in the audience don't know what a serial is, it was like a TV show, but you saw it in a theater piece by piece, about 15 minutes every week when you would go before television.
Right.
So there's 2 15-chapter serials, Superman in 48, and then a couple years later they did Atom Man versus Superman. But Superman's first feature film, Superman versus the Mole Men, 1951. Starring George Reeves. And I never knew that. I've seen that movie before, but I never knew that the movie was actually a pilot for the TV show.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so that was kind of crazy. So then the TV show ran from 52 to 58, and then the 60s and most of the 70s go by. I guess there was just Superman cartoons on TV.
Yeah, cartoons and the comics, I think, probably started to get a lull. Like, I think for a long time... because in the 60s is when Marvel really blew up. You got your X-Men, your Spider-Man,
right?
All that's coming out. All that's like a new wave of freshness in comics. So some people are getting tired of like the old.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid. I knew the difference between Marvel and DC, and Marvel was comic books, DC was cartoons on TV, Super Friends and Batman and all those cartoons.
Yeah.
So then we got Superman 1 and 2, and then Superman 3 in 1983 with Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Yes. Which I don't think I've ever seen all the way through. That's one I've seen in bits and pieces. I really have been meaning to watch that.
That's a great bad movie watch. It has one of my favorite scenes in cinema history.
Is it when somebody drops something on a seesaw and the little kid flies up in the air? Isn't that in that movie? I remember that from yeah.
But no, it's the you've never seen it. There's a scene where Superman fights Clark Kent. It is.
I'm intrigued now. All right, I'm watching it soon.
It's got Richard Pryor.
Yeah, you can't go wrong there. Who was at the height of his popularity there?
That movie.
And actually, he had just that's interesting. Richard Pryor before Superman 3 did The Toy in 1982, which was directed by Richard Donner. So isn't that something to think about?
Yeah.
If you've never seen The Toy, you or anybody listening, go find a copy of The Toy and watch it. Jackie Gleason and Richard Pryor and the kid from the kid, what was he in? Oh, he was in. Never mind.
I know who you're talking about. I mean, I know.
Yeah, he was in a movie called Kidco, which is equally as obscure as The Toy, if not more.
It's about a rich couple owning a black guy.
Yes, exactly. Yes, good times. So if you're gonna have a bad movie night, though, before Superman 3,
Quest for Peace,
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, which I finally saw a few years ago, and it is as bad as everyone says.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I feel bad for Christopher Reeve for that one, because he came back. That's like more his movie,
right? He co-wrote it, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think he really wanted to put in this idea of peace and let's all get along, and like that's really the driving force of that movie. Let's do away with nuclear weapons. Let's live in harmony. And I think that's what he was really going for, but it just got lost.
Right. Well, I had seen this in a documentary and read it the other night. The producers were so sure they had a hit that they cut the running time from 134 minutes down to 90 minutes so that they could squeeze in one or two more shows a day and make more money. And
was also
go ahead.
Canon.
Yes.
That was that was famous for them.
Yeah.
Like borrow a ton of money, never actually.
They
actually did Masters of the Universe, the He-Man movie,
which I love.
I own that too. I love that movie too.
And there's a documentary about Canon called Electric Boogaloo.
I watched it.
Yeah, that's really good. So
it's incredibly fascinating.
Yeah. So you folks out there find that too. Electric Boogaloo
on Netflix.
Is it still on Netflix? Yeah.
That's when I watched it a couple.
The true story of Canon Films. Yeah. And they were going to do a Spider-Man film at one point.
Yeah, they had the rights.
Masters of the Universe is so good though. Such a great movie. And then we had Superman Returns, which we said 2006, and then which was trying to continue the storyline from the feel.
What they officially went for was that 1 and 2 happened, and then they cut out 3 and 4.
Right.
So Returns takes place after 2.
Yeah, and then Man of Steel, which I thought it was okay, but it wasn't. Like you said, it wasn't a full-on Superman.
I think it satisfied a lot of people of what they really wanted, like an action-packed Superman.
Right.
And you can see him unleash and actually fight. I think that's what a lot of people were missing from Returns. They were like, we're so advanced in CG and stuff like that, we can't make him fight someone. He's got to carry a large island into space and stuff like that.
So they destroy a whole entire city instead.
Well, then here comes Zack Snyder. And he's like, I'm going to dial it up to 11, and we're just going to destroy everything, and Superman's going to kill someone. And
when we saw that movie afterwards, I was like, they destroyed like an entire city and probably killed millions of people, and okay. And then I was glad that everybody else caught on to that. In fact, that's kind of the driving force behind the next Batman versus Superman, right? It kind of picks up with there, like, hey, Superman, you killed 1 million people.
Right.
But we'll keep the discussion to under 2 minutes. But Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, dreadful. Or are you a fan? You can be a fan on this show. There's no judging.
Not a fan, but I'll say I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it.
Well, yeah, nothing is, but
right.
It was pretty bad.
There are some it definitely is bad. There's some interesting points. I like the idea of a Superman being accountable to international relations.
There you go.
When he goes into another country.
Right.
There's ramifications for that in general. And, everyone harps on the Martha moment. Like when Batman's like, oh, your mom's name is Martha? We just became best friends.
Right.
And, I don't. I'm like, I enjoyed that. Yeah, I'm weird when it comes to Batman vs Superman.
You don't have to be apologetic on this show.
I don't like it, but it's not as bad as what everyone else thinks.
One of my biggest complaints of that movie is they gave away all three funny parts in the movie. So then when you watch it, it's like literally a humorless film because
and they went for the famous one where it's like in the commercials where it's like, is she with you? I thought she was you. No, Batman, she's with you. You just emailed her. You just made contact with her. You know who she is. You've seen her before. It was like you just went for a laugh and didn't think about it.
And then also, maybe this is just me, but the whole ending was like not to give anything away, people, spoiler. But Superman's funeral, and we know he's coming back. He's not. You can't keep Superman down. Are you excited for Justice League, November 17th, 2017?
I'm gonna say yes, but I'm also
as enthusiastic as anyone can be about.
I'm actually most excited for Aquaman. I think he's gonna steal the show of enjoyment.
I hope so. Yeah.
I really think he's gonna be the shining star of that movie.
Aquaman lives in a little bubble of shame over the years.
He definitely does. Mr.
Even as an 8-year-old watching Super Friends, you could tell he was not the same caliber as the rest. Even Robin got to sit closer to the middle of the table at the Hall of Justice. So that's all the Superman films that we went through. And hey, you out there in podcast land, what is your favorite superhero or comic book movie? Do you have any special memories involving superheroes from your childhood? Let us know. Comment on Facebook or Twitter, or drop us a line at favemoviepodcast@yahoo.com. Who knows? We could use your comment or story on an upcoming episode and not send you a WYFM prize pack, of which do not exist. Alrighty. So, Superman, number 2 favorite film of all time. Number 1 with a bullet. Tell us what it is.
Last of the Mohicans.
Last of the Mohicans. And I assume, I didn't even check with you, but I assume you're speaking of the 1982 version. 1992 version, excuse me.
Not the 80s, yeah.
1992, Daniel Day-Lewis. Not the 1912 version.
No.
Not the 1920 version.
Or the book that I've ever read.
1932. Okay, you didn't read the book? Let me cross that off my list of questions here. Filmed in 1912, 20, 32, 36, 1947, 1950, 1965, 1968, and 1977.
Well, they had a lot of practice to get it right. So
the director said that he based his movie, though, on the 36 version. That's what really... And he doesn't think the book is that good. So, you didn't read the book.
I didn't.
It was written by... I know I wrote it down. Do you know who it's written by?
I don't, but as typical non-reading fashion, I didn't know it was a book until I got older.
Now we failed everybody. That I don't have who it is.
Well,
but
now they have some homework. Go look it up yourself.
Yes, there you go. And let us know. Last of the Mohicans, a narrative of 1757, which was written in 1826. So you said this was like your favorite movie since you were a kid?
Yeah.
That's some kind of heavy stuff for a kid.
I know.
Tell us what it's about briefly, though, without going point by point. Yeah.
It's about a small tribe of Indians or Native Americans that are just 3 members strong at this point, a father and 2 sons. One's an adoptive son who's a white guy, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, and it's their frontier life, but they're also caught up in the French Indian War. Is it no?
I don't have it. I don't know. Sounds right.
They're caught up in one of the wars.
In one of the big wars.
Yeah.
Good wars.
So they get caught up in some badness with other tribes, and he falls in love with the general's daughter and has to save her several times, and they try to live happily ever after, but it's difficult.
And you were saying earlier what you thought made you connect to this film at a young age.
Yeah, even as a young age, I watched it and I was like, I think every man has this like, oh, I gotta save the woman I love kind of drive. Yeah. And even as a kid, when I watched this, I was like captivated by this, like, especially kind of halfway point to near the end where she gets captured by another kind of Native American tribe, and he has to go rescue her. The score kicks in, and it's just like powerful instrumental music. He's running through the woods, and it's just like
it gotcha. It hit you.
For an 8-year-old kid or 9-year-old kid. I was like, yeah, I want to grow up and save my woman.
That's awesome. And so many movies do play into that, both sides of that, like a man wanting to save a woman, and then also playing into a woman wanting to be saved. Like, I think of Pretty Woman comes to mind just as an example. Yeah. Like, it's the same exact thing, just kind of turned around in a feminist or a feminine way. But, and how many times would you say you've seen Last of the Mohicans? 106?
Maybe 104. Right under that. Maybe that'll be my goal by the end of the year.
Excellent.
106.
Is this something you could watch like all the time? Like you?
Yeah, if it came on, I would probably watch it.
Stop everything.
It definitely helps that my wife and I don't connect on a lot of movies.
Right.
But
I hear you on that. She loves
the movie too.
That's good.
So it is something we can watch together, which is nice.
My wife would not watch any of my top 25 favorite movies if I held a gun to her head. Daniel Day-Lewis stars in this, who's considered like one of our greatest actors of all time.
Yeah, by a system of counting his Academy Awards, he
yes,
has to be the best because he's the only one to have 3.
I looked through his. I've never seen this Last of the Mohicans, and I did not have time to get to any of this stuff this week. Well, I usually try to watch a couple of the films. But I went through his IMDb. I have only seen 2 of his movies, or 2 movies that he's been in.
Yeah.
I saw The Crucible in '96, and I've seen Gandhi, which isn't really his film. I don't think. He's not. Yeah. I don't even know. But Gandhi's a great movie. But
yeah.
And then you have Madeline Stowe, who just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Well,
yeah, she did a Western that was all strong,
Bad Girls.
Bad Girls.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
And she's in both the Stakeout movies. Stakeout and Another Stakeout. And all the way at the bottom of her IMDb, she was on the Spider-Man TV show.
Oh, it all comes full circle.
Yeah, getting a net thrown at her. And this was directed by Michael Mann, who did Heat and Miami Vice and Ali. And it won the Oscar for Best Sound. And
it's got an incredible score.
Yeah, well, I guess the sound is like the sound effects of the forest crunching.
I'm a huge fan of the
soundtrack. Do you know who wrote the soundtrack? Or the score?
No.
Do you have the CD?
I did when I was little.
Get on that, yeah, some eBay. Maybe somebody could trade you the soundtrack for a
comic panel.
Yeah.
All right, I'm in.
There you go. And I always look up like what things beat out. Like you say, this one best sound. You know, you say it won Best Picture. What did it beat out? This and that. Nobody looks up best sound. It beat Aladdin. For best sound.
Aladdin's good.
And have you ever read a comic book of The Last of the Mohicans? There's comic books.
There are, but I have not read them.
Yeah, so you could make a little panel of that. That would be awesome.
At this point, I'm scared to do anything other than watch the movie.
I gotcha.
Because I don't want my movie to be ruined.
There you go.
Someone will go back and read the book, and they'll be like, oh.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
And then you know what they changed.
Yeah, I like where I'm at. I like the ignorance bubble that I live in when it comes to this movie. I'm
very comfortable in my ignorance bubble.
Yeah.
I also read that Michael Mann, who directed this, would do multiple takes of everything over and over and over again to the point where 20th Century Fox had to send a rep to the set to just stand behind Michael Mann and just say, "That's enough, Michael. Move on. Stop doing takes."
I can't imagine it was easy filming with him and Daniel Day-Lewis, who's notorious for really getting into his roles.
Right.
Like you mentioned, The Crucible. He got super sick on the set of The Crucible and would not take modern medicine because he's like, well, my character wouldn't, so I just gotta ride this out.
I heard for Lincoln, he got shot in the back of the head, I think, is for never mind.
Yeah, he likes to really get into it.
Let's move down your list. Rocky 2, another sequel, another 2. Rocky 2. Everybody came back. Stallone, Adrian, Pauly, Creed. Now, I think I've seen this when I was little, but I haven't seen any of them in a while. And my son and I just watched the first one, and we're gonna, we plan on. I think we have it on the DVR. But what puts Rocky 2 above Rocky in your book?
What I really like about Rocky 2, and I love both, but Rocky 2 picks up immediately after Rocky 1. Like, he's in the hospital from the fight.
I love when they do that.
Part of the movie is about, he has some success. He gets some money from the fight. But part of the movie is him not being able to provide for himself. Like, they kind of waste the money. He marries Adrian. But he can't continue to provide for himself. And it makes him question himself as a man. And I really like that inner turmoil of that kind of struggle for him. And then, he gets back into fighting because it's not only who he thinks he is, but he's got to provide. Like, he's got to do what he knows to do to kind of make it happen.
Similar theme with you in the providing and rescuing and whatnot. Interesting. Have you seen all the Rockies? You've gone all the way through?
I've done all of them except for Creed.
So Creed would be 7.
Soon to be Creed 2.
So that will be 8. Yeah. Excellent. A River Runs Through It, 1992. There's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Robert Redford directed.
Yeah. And I got Brad Pitt's in it.
Yep.
Tom Skerritt. Yep. Love me some Tom Skerritt.
Picket fences.
Yeah. There you go. And Edie McClurg is in this. Do you know who that is? She plays Mrs. Burns. I don't know who that is in the movie, but she was the secretary. And there you go. Yeah. What's she doing in this? Isn't this a serious?
She is the main character's love interest's mom.
Okay.
So she gets a couple of scenes in it, not very many.
Is she funny? Is she? Is she her?
She's always. She's definitely her.
She's her.
Yes. There's not much branching out from what you're used to when it comes to her.
Is this a heavy film? Like, this always looks to me like it's pretty deep and heavy. And
it is. It holds a place in my heart because it reminds me of my brother and I. Like, we really enjoyed this movie, and the two characters were very similar to them. I'm like the main character. He's like Brad Pitt.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it just like really. Yeah, I grew up watching this movie, and it just really makes you think of us.
That's awesome to have like a connection like that, and
yeah.
Also, because my brother never watched anything with me growing up, so well, that's another story.
Very little that if we ever watched it.
And then Predator, 1987. Everyone loves the Predator.
Yeah, now we're getting into like deep cuts for Todd. Like,
right? Okay.
Yeah, like Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, there's not much anyone could say about the Predator that hasn't been said. It's just such. I just watched it the other night. It was on TV, and I watched it.
This is on. My son is just getting into, coming out of the. He's 14, so he's stepped up his movie game. So this is on our list. I bought I think a 3-pack with Predator and Predator 2 and
AVP.
Yeah. So we're at least going to watch the first one. But is this is the film that is home to Get to the Chopper? Correct. Yes. Okay.
Get to the Chopper.
There you go. And it's just like, what do you say about Predator? Right?
It's been talked about. I think it's a great kind of horror sci-fi movie. Like I don't think they've captured the essence of the first one yet, but I don't know. Maybe
I think they're doing a remake or something.
I think they
coming
are
out.
too.
And that'll be forgotten, just like...
It's going to be directed, I think, by Shane Black, who's the guy who did the first one, or at least was a part of the first one.
Yeah.
He's actually in it. He's one of the...
Oh, okay. The first one was directed by John McTiernan, who did the Die Hard 1 and 3.
Okay.
So, yeah. Todd, did you know Predator is just one of the many awesome movies that you can find immortalized on a stylish exclusive t-shirt from our friends at deckshirts.com? That's right, Deck Shirts has 2 Predator t-shirts for your approval. The first one is their AVP group photo design, which features not only the Predator, but also his good buddy Alien. And they are smiling for the camera, and Predator is holding a sign that reads, Arnie is a punk. Predator, more like prankster, right? The AVP group photo shirt is available in black, gray, navy, and alien green from sizes small to extra, extra large. Another Predator shirt design features a naughty word on it. Deck Shirts thinks it's pretty clever and mature. Stop by their website and see what you think. For unique and exclusive new t-shirts inspired by nostalgia, pop culture, and iconic movie themes, it's deckshirts.com. Put in promo code WYFmovie, and you'll get 20% off your order at deckshirts.com. All right.
Nice.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Kickboxer. We're just racing through these now. Yeah.
Also, Van Damme, one of his first movies. I'm a big action movie guy.
Just the kind of action films that are like, here's the premise. Let's go kick some butt for 90 minutes. That's exactly.
Not a whole lot going on besides action and Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Stallone. They're responsible for.
Yeah. Those were big in like the 80s and early 90s. Steven Seagal films before he got all wacky.
Crazy.
My favorite Jean-Claude film, the hockey one. Sudden Death. Yeah. Mrs. Roper's in it. Yeah. Did you know there's a Kickboxer franchise?
Yes, I've seen them all.
All of them.
Including the new one that was just made like last year that's on Netflix now.
2016's Vengeance.
Yeah.
You've seen number 2, The Road Back.
I have.
Number 3, The Art of War. The Aggressor. The Redemption.
The Redemption.
is 5. And then next year, Retaliation.
Ugh.
So Kickboxer.
Well, 2 and 3... You seem like a guy who enjoyed his sitcom.
Yes.
People 2 and 3 had Cody from Step by Step as the main character, the kickboxer, if you will.
As the main, really?
He was the kickboxer. Yeah.
All right, but Stacey Keenan's not in it, so I don't know if I can get on board with that. But hey, what are you gonna do? And then Tommy Boy, you added also to the list.
Yeah, I felt like when I looked at my list, I was like, I gotta throw a comedy or something in there. And Tommy Boy is probably my favorite comedy. I was a huge fan of Chris Farley.
Yes, we all were. Yeah.
Being a plus size guy, I was like, that's my hero right there.
There you go.
He makes it work for himself.
I am proud to I don't think this is morbid. I've outlived him. Like, I forget what age he died, but I made it.
I think.
Okay, well, I made it way past 33. So, him, Belushi, John Candy. I think I'm almost to John Candy. So all the big fat celebrities, I've done better than that. But I don't have high-priced, narcotics at my disposal. So, so that's awesome. Yeah. So we just kind of touched upon them. And we have time for a quick game because everyone loves a game. Now this one's a little simple because I wrote it at like 1:00 in the morning, but I tried to be a little creative. Bad Guys Day Job is the name of this game. And this is, villains from comic book movies.
Okay.
And everybody knows them as the Joker or whoever, but what's their real name? So I'm going to give you their real name and see if you know their, which villain they are. Like, you got me, right?
Sure.
And this is based on movie rules, so I don't know if like the comic book version's different, but we'll see. You'll correct me for sure.
I will try.
Dr. Pamela Isley.
Pamela Isley. Is that Ivy?
Poison Ivy from Batman and Robin, 1997. Ivan Vanko.
Ooh,
I need a timer.
I should know this. You're going to have to give it to me.
Whiplash from Iron Man 2.
Yes.
Flint Marko.
Sandman.
Yes. Spider-Man 3. Max Dillon.
Max Dillon. You're going to have to give it to me.
Electro. Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oswald Cobblepot.
Oh, the Penguin.
Everyone knows that one, yes. Another easy one. I was getting really tired. Victor Von Doom.
the good doctor.
And number 7, Oroko Saki.
From Teenage Mutant Ninja.
Yes. Who is it?
Shredder.
Yes. Ding. 5 for 7. Not bad.
I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll send you out a WIFM prize package.
That doesn't good.
It's all good. Todd, thanks so much for your time and doing the show, and I think it went well.
Yeah, and I had a great time.
This was like the first one that I did with somebody who I don't really know that well. I know we've met like at a party or probably like, hey Todd, and
yeah, we definitely met during Ed South days.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't remember those back in my TV days before I was glamorously recording shows in basements. And we should send a shout out to our friend Matt who shared us his basement this evening to record the show.
And he's how I got hooked onto the show. He did his episode.
Yeah, I forgot to put down which episode, but we talked about The Jerk in his episode, which is a great.
It definitely is
a great film. So, which film are you going to go home and watch tonight? Now that we stirred up all these,
I kind of feel like I need to go home and watch Superman 2, but the Richard Donner cut.
Ah, okay.
I've only seen it once, even though I enjoy it. So now I'm like, well, maybe I should go watch it again.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I remember the diner scene at the end is like my favorite part.
Yeah,
I think it's probably funny.
Revenge.
Yeah. So, folks, thanks for joining us. The best way to help out this show. We don't ask for money that you aren't going to give us anyway, but you can share the show on your social media, Facebook, Twitter at WIF Movie Podcast, or Instagram. If you know how LinkedIn works or what Google Plus is or how a Tumblr operates, by all means, please feel free to share us on there as well. Or you can just tell someone. Word of mouth is the best way to tell people that, hey, there's a podcast and you should listen to it. iTunes, go on over there, rate and review us. It helps us out immensely. And check out Todd's comic book panels on Facebook and what's the other one? Etsy. And you can. I think they'd make awesome Christmas gifts. Like that's a no-brainer. Like no one's gonna have it. It's an original. So
and don't forget to subscribe to What's Your Favorite Movie Podcast.
Well, thank you, Todd. Yes, subscribing helps out too. And also, folks, episode 32, the last one. No one listened. Go back and listen to it. Dirty Dancing Weekend. It was a really good show. We talked all about the resort where Dirty Dancing was filmed, and my guest had visited there and had the time of her life. And you will also listening to it.
My wife and I want to go there.
Yeah, well, it's very expensive, but
well, maybe we won't.
Play the podcast for her, and she'll agree to shelling out the dough to go Dirty Dance the weekend. Todd, thank you very much.
No problem.
Pleasure. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Until next time, it's Khaki Wishes and Cookie Dreams. Bye-bye.